If you're watching this right now, it means one thing. You're tired of living as a shadow of who you once were. That constant monitoring of your heart rate, the blood pressure spikes that come out of nowhere, and the sleepless nights wondering if something is seriously wrong with you. I get it. And I have good news. This consultation call is going to be the turning point you've been searching for. My name is Kostas. I'm one of the partners at Salus, and I'm the program director of the Calm Heart Method. I completely realize there are lots of programs and treatments out there making big promises, but that's why in this video I'm going to share the exact steps that we take that have helped over 300 people completely eliminate blood pressure issues, get rid of their health anxiety, and eliminate heart irregularities, as well as achieve remarkable improvements in their energy, sleep, and quality of life. If you watch this video all the way through, you'll not only be prepared for the upcoming call, but you'll also receive our comprehensive Calm Heart panel, a $500 lab test completely free if you complete the form below this video. And so by the end of this 9 minutes, you'll understand the specific biochemical imbalances behind your symptoms, a proprietary exercise for resetting your autonomic nervous system in as little as 5 minutes, and our 3-phase methodology for rewiring the heart-brain connection back into coherence. You'll also learn what to expect during the consultation, but let's start with what's actually happening in your body. What makes our approach unique is our focus on the heart-brain axis, a bidirectional communication network between your cardiovascular system and your brain. Let me explain what's actually happening in your body. You see, when you experience chronic stress, whether from work demands, health concerns, or other pressures, your body activates the sympathetic nervous system, releasing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are designed for short-term emergency responses, but when chronically elevated, they create measurable physiological changes. One of those would be vascular effects. They constrict blood vessels, increasing blood pressure and creating the sensation of chest tightness. Another one would be electrical changes. So these are where hormones alter the electrical signaling in your heart, which can manifest as palpitations or irregular heartbeats. Lastly, it can create neurological sensitization, which is your brain becoming hyper aware of normal bodily sensations and interpreting them as threats. What's fascinating is this creates a feedback loop. Your heart sends signals to your brain via the vagus nerve, and when these signals indicate stress, your brain responds by releasing more stress hormones, perpetuating the cycle. During these stress responses, especially when you're hyperventilating from anxiety, essential minerals like calcium and magnesium actually shift out of your bloodstream, and this explains why so many people experience tingling in their arms, extra heartbeats, other strange sensations, and they can be absolutely terrifying if you don't understand what's happening. This science explains why traditional approaches often fail. Medications might address the symptoms temporarily, but they don't interrupt the feedback loop. Therapy alone might help with cognitive patterns, but it doesn't address the physiological mechanisms already in motion. And the tests that doctors typically run only look at the structural aspects of the heart, which completely miss the surrounding hormonal and inflammatory biomarkers that affect this brain-heart connection. So that's why you can have multiple negative tests and EKGs and still feel terrible. The Calm Heart Method is the only program built on this principle, and it provides a clear pathway to tackle these issues at their root cause. So the Calm Heart Method is broken down into a few foundational phases, the first of which is going to be focused on data collection as well as tools for immediate relief. So one of those first steps is we do send you that Calm Heart panel, and this is a comprehensive assessment of a lot of different biomarkers, not just related to your heart, but even more importantly, a lot of those hormonal aspects, things like cortisol, things like DHEA, as well as those inflammatory biomarkers, things like homocysteine, which are proven to lead to a lot of blood pressure spikes and other hypertensive issues. We'll measure for some other deficiencies as well, but this serves as a baseline for us to understand, okay, what aspects of this are physiological compared to psychological. And then as we're collecting this data on not just your biomarkers, but some other aspects about your life, we're also going to immediately teach you something called the Calm Reset. And so this stands for cardiac autonomic limbic modulation. And essentially the way this works is it's like hitting the reset button on those 3 major highways that connect the brain and the heart. And so you have the cardiac, which is that circulatory oxygenation system between the two, the autonomic, which is your central nervous system, and kind of the vagus nerve that physically connects the two, and then the limbic, which is that hormonal connection through something called the hypothalamus pituitary axis. And so the reason the Calm Reset works so well is it's working on targeting all three of these systems at the same time. So it's going to trigger that physical vagus nerve response. It's going to normalize CO2 levels and reset something called baroreceptor sensitivity. And it's going to attempt to restore heart rate variability patterns. Again, this is a 5-minute exercise. The first time you do it, it might take 10 minutes. The second time you do it, it might take 8. But ideally, it gets shorter and shorter until it's a bit more of an automatic response to really nip these cardiophobic events in the bud. And so that would be anytime you feel your heart racing, when you're trying to go to sleep at night, you feel a blood pressure spike coming on, you start feeling that adrenaline or nervous response, you feel a palpitation, a chest pain, shortness of breath. You'll do this technique, and it's designed to give you immediate relief and pull you back into that parasympathetic state so that you can go about your day without, having to run to the ER or completely just throw your routine out of whack. And so this is a really exciting phase because we get to see some quick results from clients. Here's an example of one from James. He shot us a text very shortly after starting saying, "I can't thank you guys enough. It's been less than 10 days and just had a scare that would have previously sent him to the ER, but instead was able to go around his workday." Another one is from Justin. He got his results from the Calm Heart panel and was shocked that his doctors hadn't tested for a lot of these things. And it gave him some immediate clarity of why he hadn't been feeling so well. So now that we understand your physiological state and we've given you some tools for immediate relief, we can start building foundational resilience. And as a team, we can't go into your life and just remove stress from your life. I can't go to work for you. We can't take care of your kids for you. But what we can do is we can increase the size of your body's internal stress bucket, which is your capacity to handle both life stress and physiological stress without triggering this fight or flight response. And so to do this effectively, we help you achieve what we call coherence. This is where your physical, your hormonal, and your emotional systems all work together in harmony. So this visual is a good representation of that. It kind of shows how those hormones that we measure, things like cortisol, things like DHEA, actually relate to your physical brain and heart waves, and then how those together correspond with emotional responses as seen in the inner circle. So when you look at this, you can see this is really one integrated system, and working one-on-one with your functional medicine professional, the goal is to bring you back into coherence, which is the state of peace, both physically and mentally. And the way we do it is we use a very precise one change per week approach. We strategically will implement recommendations and interventions that are meant to normalize your stress hormone production, reduce inflammatory triggers, optimize any nutrient levels that you're deficient in, restore autonomic balance through specific protocols and techniques. And the reason we do this at a rate of one change per week is it allows us to measure the specific impact of each intervention. We also avoid adding too much to your plate or overwhelming you with a bunch of lifestyle changes or anything like that. And we want to create sustainable habits that compound over time and become more of an autopilot response in your body. And so each week we are tracking the results of that. So this is kind of what the back end looks like, where we're looking at, okay, what are your mental symptom scores? What are your physical symptom scores? And how are they improving week over week? Typically by week 6, the average client is seeing, or 82% of clients are reporting a significant reduction in both mental and physical symptoms. Over 72% are reporting an increase in sleep quality. And yeah, a perfect example of someone who really thrived in this phase would be Jonathan. After building foundational resilience to his stress, he was able to completely stop taking blood pressure medication, even by his 6th or 7th week, which is pretty powerful. So the final phase of this is focusing on strengthening those new neural pathways that we've established and ensuring that your results are permanent with a routine that integrates in your life and that reinforces an identity that puts peace on autopilot. This is where everything we've built becomes automatic and effortless. And so we'll teach things like stress proofing techniques for work stress, travel, social situations. Make sure you have a straightforward maintenance plan that becomes something you really enjoy doing and that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life. And maybe most importantly, really working on the mindset and the identity so that peace becomes your default setting and not something that you have to work at every day. Not a complicated, rigid scientific protocol that leaves you walking on eggshells all the time. And, at this point, over 90% of clients do consider the program a full success. This is where we get messages like the one below from Ralph, where he just got back from a trip from Italy with his family and jokingly, or maybe not jokingly, saying we need to give his professional a raise. Um, but yeah, this is really where we put all the pieces together and set you up so that you can continue independently without being dependent on us or anyone else. By now, you should have a decent understanding of what our approach is, some of the science behind it, and kind of the philosophy we take to really help people get to the bottom of this. I want to quickly walk through what you can actually expect during the consultation itself. This will be 45 minutes long, and we'll move through a couple of key steps. The first of which is going to be an assessment. So we're going to review your specific symptoms, history, any previous treatments or tests that you've done. We'll kind of do an analysis and try and figure out what some of those root causes and biomarkers are behind your symptoms. And then on the call, we'll actually go ahead and create one of these custom heart-brain roadmaps, which walks you through a lot of the specific steps that we would actually take. And so we'll do this on the call with you, and it kind of gives you a more specific example of what you as an individual could, expect during each phase. And then if everything makes sense, we can go through a program determination and see if our approach is actually a good fit to move forward with. But yeah, just to make sure that the session is as productive as possible, just make sure you find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Have any recent, test results or medication lists handy. And then, yeah, any questions that you make sure you want, us to be able to cover, just bring those with you. Before I let you go, I want to just quickly encourage you to check out our Trustpilot. This is a website. They only allow verified customer reviews. We're rated excellent. I think the average wellness program is somewhere in the mid 2-star range. So I do encourage you to go through and read some of these. A lot of them are quite recent and mostly 5-star. We have a couple 4-star as well. And as you get to the bottom, you see some very long testimonies on, people that have tackled their cardiophobia, gotten off blood pressure meds, and just experienced really life-changing results. So yeah, make sure to take a look at these. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to complete that form below so you can receive your credit for the Calm Heart panel. But we're excited to meet you soon and hopefully help you regain your peace, your energy, and your confidence. Thank you for taking this important step, and we look forward to talking to you soon.